What's going on, guys? This is Jay coming to you live from Landgraf, West Virginia. It's a beautiful day today. It's Saturday, May 30th, 2020. We're doing some work in the field today. The first step of the day is to line the tomato patch back out in block 2. We came in here and did some tractor work and planted block 1 with beans. And the second step is to work in block 4 today. We're going to work in the brassicas. I'm just going to set out the broccoli plants because that's the next plants that's going into this block. We have 3 rows of broccoli going in, 100 foot long, and I'm setting up my tent. Those are the wheels that I put on it in the previous video to help me move it around a little better. It works out pretty good. I'm just going to have to tighten down the bolts on them a little tighter before I can roll it up and down the field, but it makes for great shade. And I try not to work too much in the sun in the mornings. In between 7 o'clock and 12 o'clock is a good time to work. The solar index is fairly low, it's below 5. And the first step in this block is to stretch the lines back out and get our center point. I'm going to go in and check out the plants that I already have. We're doing a little bit of weeding. And there's good news, those collards and kales that I planted directly into the dirt, they're coming up through the dirt now. So we have more collards and kale to put in that first row. But we're going to take out some of this weed. That water weed stuff, it's pretty invasive. It will take over your entire garden. You have to stay on top of it, kill it, pull the roots out, chop the tops off. So I try to do that every morning when I get there first to stay on top of it, at least around where I have stuff planted. That way I'm not fighting it throughout the year, and it will eventually die back and die off. I'm going to mark my next row, go 3 feet out from the previous one, stretch the line out, and I'm just going to rake out all of the rocks from underneath it like we did in the previous rows. Coffee, the gasoline of champions. No, that was funny. I'm just going through and raking out some of the bigger rocks and trying to get the ground a little bit level. I want it to be nice and raked through before I lay the cardboard down. That way I'm not laying it down on any top of bigger rocks or any kind of roots or anything. This little 4-prong rake thing gets out most of the roots and the bigger rocks. And for the ones that I can't get out with that, I use I have to dig them out, but the bigger rake, it levels out the field underneath the line. That way I can lay the cardboard straight down. We're just trying to get this field as level as possible, where it makes it easier to lay everything out. I probably got down through there in about 15 minutes, which wasn't too bad. I've said this before, the cardboard, it's going to serve multiple purposes. And putting this down, it's going to retain the moisture of the soil. It's going to create an environment for our mycorrhizal fungi to help create beneficial properties to the soil. It's also going to provide shelter for some of our worms and things like that. I'll have to take you guys in on a video and show you what it looks like underneath the piece of the cardboard after it's been there for a while. And it's going to add organic material back to this soil and to the environment. So it's a really good way to recycle cardboard paper, and it's helpful to the entire system of your growing, and it's all decomposable. It's all natural, or more natural than a lot of the other practices, and it serves more than one purpose, which is what we're going for in this. And what I like to do after I get the line laid out, I like to take the dirt that I raked out of the previous rows and the rocks, and I just like to pull it back in on top of it to hold it in place. Once the water soaks into the cardboard, it's going to lay down more, and roots and fungus and things like that are going to help hold it down to the ground. After it's there for a while, it'll be established, and we can just put this back into the soil next year. And it's going to keep the roots of all of our plants moist most of the time. It holds water for a really long time after you put it down, so it's really beneficial. And what I'm doing in between the rows, I'm laying more cardboard in between the rows where I walk at to create the same effect there. We want to retain all the moisture that we can into this soil, even where we don't have plants at, because the roots, they'll reach out and find it. And I don't have to come in and weed, and if there's no weeds for them to compete with, they're going to get most of the nutrients that I put back in here. And I'm experimenting with different ways of holding the cardboard down. We have rocks, but I also have these larger sticks from where I've been cutting trees out that I can't mulch. I'm just processing some of the boxes to go in between the rows. It's going to take about 15,000 square feet of cardboard minimum to do these 5 plots. And I've been using it for other purposes too, so it's probably going to take more than that. But cardboard is free. You can get it just about anywhere. Most stores will be more than happy to give it to you. It's starting to get a little bit warm out there now, and I see trains go by all day long every day. I love watching the time lapses of them go by. It's just like this big metal snake crawling its way across the landscape. Well, most of this project is finished, so I'm going to start on the next one. We're going to clear out some more trees along the backside of the brassicas. I need more wood mulch, and I need to get these trees out of here, and I need the trunks of the bigger trees. All of these trees are dead, so I'm not taking out any live trees. You can see that there's no buds or leaves on any of this, and a lot of it is just the water weed that grew up, which we're going to take it and mulch it too. So a lot of it's hollow trunks. There's a few smaller trees that didn't come back. We're going to use those as mulch too. It's going to help this bank look a little bit better too, and give us a better view of the creek. I like to take them and process them before I get them home. I cut them into smaller pieces, and all the ones that will not fit in my wood chipper, they're going to become weights to help hold the cardboard down, and later on I'll cut them up and put them back into the garden as well in other ways. I can only process and do so much of one task at a time before it becomes too hard for me or too hot outside or one of the other. I still have a lot of problems with low blood sugars and things like that, so it really limits how much I can do. I get a lot done, but it's just hard for me in a lot of other settings, and just take it in small steps. That's about all the trees that I could fit into the back of my car anyway, so it's going to work out pretty good. We're going to slowly get all of this cardboarded in. It's going to look beautiful. So we're going to put more mulch back down. It's going to be lush and green and alive in here. I've just been excited to see this come together. This has been a long time planning, a long time in the making. And I'm excited to share a new form of artwork, because that's what this is. This is a new form of artwork. I'm trying to express something that it's kind of hard to put into words, so I'm going to do it on the ground. Pretty cool stuff. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put in our second row of tomato stakes. Measure out 3 feet away from the last tomato stake. That's where they're going to go. We're going to go ahead and knock down these weeds around here. That's that same water weed stuff. And that stuff is everywhere. I want to keep it chopped down as long as possible and as much as possible. We're going to dig out as much root as we can. And what I'm doing, I'm using these metal T-posts. These are 6-foot metal T-posts. I'm putting one of those in every 10 feet. And I have a pole driver, which makes it a lot easier than trying to hit them in with a hammer. You just kind of knock down on it, and it doesn't take much effort. It doesn't take much work to get one in. I can only do about 1 row at a time at this point before I've had enough of knocking them in, so we're getting there slowly but surely. We have a few more rows to do after this one. It's gonna be a beautiful fence of tomatoes. And we're just going to keep knocking those weeds down, because I can knock them down faster than they can grow. Alright, we're coming into the home stretch. This is the last few posts. And I'm packing up my stuff and I'm out of here. Look at that beautiful 2 rows. On to the next one. It's a beautiful drive back through these West Virginia mountains. I had to secure my tools down. Should have done that before I left, but I didn't. I will do that next time, for sure. Let's take these trees and turn them into wood chips. This Sunjoe wood chipper has really been pretty amazing, helping me make mulch. I've made a lot of mulch with this thing. Sometimes it gets jammed up and I have to take it loose and clean it out, but it's overall worked very well. I've made more mulch. If I had to buy the mulch, then the wood chipper is already paid for itself. Let's put it into those type of terms and conditions. And you'll get different types of mulch depending on what types of trees that you have. Dead wood, it usually mulches a lot better. Some of the harder woods, they're a little bit harder for the wood chipper to process, but it all comes out consistent. Beautiful mulch. It's going to be worm food, it's going to be fungus food, it's going to add organic material back to our soils, and it's putting it all back. It's renewable. It's a renewable resource. The mulch that I make for around my house is all just trimmings and clippings from our fruit trees and some of the bushes and flowers that we have. And the trees that I'm chipping now that came from the field, they'll go back into the field around our plants and all those sorts of things. And it's going to help hold that cardboard down too. So it's doing more than one thing. It's adding a lot of beneficial factors, more than one. It makes it look nice, which is also very good. Not that I care about looks, but I kind of do. I want it to look nice. I want it to be presentable, and I want it to help keep my vegetables from getting dirty. The cardboard will also do that. That's another thing that I didn't mention before. If you have cardboard under your vegetables, when it rains, they're not going to get muddy, so that's less cleaning that I have to do to keep the mud off of them, which is always a benefit. It's going to help keep some of the bugs away. So a lot of bugs, they're not going to crawl on a dry surface. So we're going to see if it will help keep slugs away too, because I don't think slugs like to crawl across dry surfaces, which means less bugs and competition for me. And I'm all for that. Alright, back in the car we go. Batteries are charged, and I'm ready for round 2. It is now the evening, and the solar index is below 5 once again, and now I can get back out into the sun. What we're doing here, we're going to take all those tomatoes that we laid out here in that tray, and we're going to start planting them in our first row. I'm so excited. This is the final transplant of the cherry tomatoes. These are going to make small little vines of tomatoes, and I'm putting one in between these posts every 3 feet. That way we can trellis these up these posts on both sides with baling twine. I have 40,000 feet of baling twine, so we should have plenty enough to get this project done. My technique changed a little bit as I went on down the line with these tomatoes. I was digging individual holes and then going back and getting a pack of plants to put in. And at some point my technique changed and I started digging all the holes. I stretched out this tape measure to about 106 feet. I think I left 3 extra feet on each side. That way I would have room to go all the way around. And I would drop one in every 3 feet like I said previously, I always pull the line back tight to make sure that it's in the right place. And there's a close-up of how we plant the tomatoes. Now, sometimes tomatoes, they'll get a little bit taller, and it's okay to pull off the bottom amount of leaves and to bury it up. What I like to do, I like to take off all the leaves, up to 3 sets of leaves. There's only 3 sets of leaves left on these. I took off the bottom 5 sets, and I buried the entire stem down to that point. That way all my tomatoes are at the same height. And we're going to check on these as they're growing to make sure they're all growing at the same height. And when they get to about 10 inches, we're going to run our first line down the front and along the back side to start trellising them up these T-posts. I'm not sure at what point I decided to dig all of the holes first, but it made it go a lot faster. I got this entire row of tomatoes put in a little under an hour and a half. The solar index was at 0, which made it amazing out there. There was no kind of slash back from the sun or any of that stuff. So, and your plants, you don't want to plant your plants in a higher solar index. Earlier in the year, I planted some of them in the morning, and it got hot in the day, and the plants, they all survived. It was harder on the plants to recover from that. It would have been better if I would have planted them in the evening. So from now on, I will only be doing transplants in the evening time. That way that they have all night and the rest of the evening and the morning to acclimate, and there's no transplant shock. And another thing that I like to do is harden off my plants. I take them out the grow room and let them sit outside for a few days or a week before they're actually put out into the environment. That also helps with transplant shock. And I think that's it. We're at the end of the row. It was a good day that I put in. I think I got in probably about 9 to 10 hours today. Video was compressed in 23 minutes. So thank you guys for checking it out. That's it. I hope y'all have some stuff growing on. You have to stay tuned until the next one. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informational and helpful. Go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell to get updates on future videos. And y'all stay safe out there. Can you dig it?